The afternoon sun spilled through the windows of the bustling kitchen, lighting up the old wooden table where Leo and Kira sat, surrounded by books and sketches. Leo adjusted his square-rimmed glasses, his spiky brown hair catching the light as he leaned over a large binder filled with intricate designs. His forest green utility vest clinked softly with the tiny tools he always carried, while his teal hoodie bunched up at his elbows. Right next to him, 12-year-old Kira was bursting with energy, her cherry red bandana tied neatly around her high ponytail, and her mustard yellow adventurer jacket pushed up at the sleeves. On the floor beside them, Gizmo the large mixed-breed dog rested his heavy chin on the floorboards, his white and earthy brown fur completely still except for the occasional twitch of the dark brown heart-shaped patch near his ear. The small cookie-shaped white patch on his nose remained perfectly steady as he watched the children with deep, intelligent eyes. Kira was running her fingers across a beautifully printed page, her eyes wide with amazement. "This is exceptionally cool," she whispered, her voice full of genuine wonder. "I truly did not know there was a book containing hundreds of different tattoos that a person could just pick from." Leo looked over the top of his lenses at the elaborate patterns of ink. "It takes a lot of technical precision to create those lines," he noted practically. "I do not care about the technical lines," Kira said with a wave of her hand as she sat up straight. "I have already made up my mind. I want a tattoo of all the boys in the famous musical group known as BTS on my skin." Leo blinked at her, his expression turning completely deadpan. "Well," he said in his characteristically dry voice, "there are exactly 7 of them in that group. Your arm is far too small. You would honestly need at least 2 more arms to fit all of their faces without running out of space." Kira was entirely undeterred by the physical limitations of her own anatomy. She turned around to see her older brother Mark walking into the room with a bag of snacks. "What if you do 4 of them on Mark?" she suggested, shifting her gaze between the 2 boys with a triumphant smile. "And then we can put the remaining 3 on me. Think about how wonderful that would look." Mark stopped in his tracks, frowning deeply as he looked down at his own arms. "Why do I have to be a part of this art project?" "Because it is about teamwork and brotherhood," Kira explained enthusiastically. "We can walk around the neighborhood with our sleeves rolled up all the time. Whenever we see our friends, we can just put our arms together side by side to show people the complete picture. It will be like a living human puzzle." Leo leaned back in his chair, a bright smile playing on his lips as his analytical mind calculated the hilarious social consequences. "Yes," Leo agreed, his voice dripping with playful sarcasm. "That sounds like an incredibly efficient plan. And then right after we show them the puzzle, we can just beat each other up right there on the sidewalk to save the local neighborhood bullies a lot of time and effort. They would truly appreciate us skipping all the middle steps." Before Kira could defend her grand artistic vision, their mother, Darlene, walked into the kitchen from the grocery run, holding a heavy laundry basket. Her sharp eyes immediately locked onto the open volume on the table. "Okay," Darlene said, pointing a stern finger at them before anyone could even say a word of greeting. "Neither of you are getting a tattoo. Not a single dot of ink is touching your skin. It is completely illegal in this state until you turn 18 years old, so you can close that book of temptation right now." At that exact moment, the heavy wooden back door creaked open, and Becky walked into the hallway, her arms filled with drawing pads. "Oh, perfect timing," Becky said, her face lighting up as she spotted Darlene. "Love you. Bye," Darlene replied automatically, turning on her heel to walk back to the kitchen in an attempt to avoid whatever request was coming. "Hey, Mom," Becky called out, chasing after her with a sweet, high-pitched voice that always signaled trouble. "Do you remember how you said you would do absolutely anything within your power to help my career as an aspiring tattoo artist? Do you remember that beautiful promise?" Darlene stopped by the counter, her face completely flat. "Oh yeah," she said. "I remember that conversation perfectly. I was lying. I was entirely lying just to get you to stop practicing your sketches on the kitchen table. Come on, let me give you a small tattoo," Becky pleaded, opening a pad to show a drawing of a slightly lopsided bird. "I am never going to get a part-time chair at the professional studio downtown unless I have a real tattoo on a living human being to show the lead artist by this weekend." Darlene shook her head, leaning against the sink. "Well, by this weekend I might be entirely in Hawaii," she said, shifting the topic to her own unfolding drama. Becky froze, her eyes widening in astonishment. "This weekend? What are you talking about? Ben said he did not want to go anywhere near an island, and you explicitly said you would sell those expensive charity tickets to pay the household expenses." "Yeah, I know," Darlene said, her voice tight with a mixture of guilt and frustration. "People keep pointing that out to me every hour of the day. My dad points it out, the grocery clerk points it out, everyone points it out. But I'm still thinking about going by myself if I absolutely have to." "Well, I think you completely deserve it," Becky said, her tone instantly shifting to one of absolute support now that she sensed an opportunity for leverage. "You work hard, and you deal with this hectic house. And when you get back from paradise, I will give you a great tattoo in exchange for my absolute silence regarding this entire trip." "I wish it was that easy, Becky," Darlene muttered, rubbing her temples where a headache was forming. "How can I possibly go on a 4-day vacation across the ocean without telling Ben? He knows my exact schedule." "Yeah, I know," Becky agreed, nodding in sympathy. "You would be lying every single time he calls." "No," Darlene interrupted, shaking her head vigorously. "You are misunderstanding the nature of my question. I am not asking for a moral lecture on the ethics of honesty. I am asking a practical question. How do I physically do this without telling Ben? Give me a strategy." "Wow," Becky said, a slow smile spreading across her face. "You are really not giving this up. It must really bug you that Ben refuses to go with you." "It more than bugs me, Becky," Darlene said, her voice dropping into a serious, quiet space. "It has made me question the entire relationship from top to bottom. It is about whether we want the same things in life." Before Becky could respond, Dan Connor walked into the kitchen from the backyard, his flannel shirt covered in wood dust. He looked at his daughters and let out a heavy breath. Damn, he said, shaking his head. Do not get between you and a tropical celebration, I guess. The tension in here is thick enough to cut with a saw. At that exact moment, Harris burst through the side door, holding a glass of water and looking completely bewildered. Somebody left the back door wide open, she announced, looking back over her shoulder. And I just saw an absolute stranger run out of our yard carrying the very last can of beer from the refrigerator. It all happened so incredibly fast that I could not get a clear identification on the person. He was just a blur of denim and stolen beverage. Dan groaned, leaning his weight against the table. Great, now we are losing our refreshments to neighborhood sprinters. Gizmo let out a soft whine from his corner, his dark brown leather collar jingling slightly as he rested his chin on his paws, his cookie-shaped nose patch twitching at the commotion. The next afternoon, the living room was filled with the savory aroma of roast chicken. Ben walked into the house, his expression firm and serious as he spotted Darlene standing by the bookshelf. So, are you completely avoiding me now? Ben asked without preamble, his voice steady but hurt. You have not returned a single one of my telephone calls in an entire week. Is this because you are mad that my mother went over to talk to your dad about our future plans? She did not just talk to him, Ben, Darlene said, turning around to face him with her arms crossed. She completely ambushed him at his workplace. And you did not do a single thing to stop her, even though you know exactly what an overwhelming monster she can be when she thinks she is right. Yes, I know she is difficult, Ben admitted, stepping closer. But in this specific case, the legendary giant monster finally stepped on the right villager. I actually think she did the right thing by telling my dad to sell his house, because he is trapping his children here under this roof forever. And she only did it to make up for what a terrible mother she has been to you over the years. She wants us to have our own home. This is even better than the time she helped my 6th grade girlfriend write me an incredibly specific breakup note on pink paper, Darlene scoffed, her voice sharp with ancient resentment. My mother thought Lisa could do much better than a Connor. She certainly has not had that talk with me yet, but I am sure it is coming. Okay, look, Ben said, taking a deep breath. I know my mom did it the wrong way. She always does things the wrong way, but she is just trying to get us together under one roof. Oh, well, if she could somehow get us on a vacation together in paradise, that would be significantly better, Darlene fired back. Are you seriously still on that topic? Ben asked, his face hardening. I do not even know what to say to you right now, Darlene. If you cannot see the bigger financial picture here, I do not even want to talk about this anymore. I do not want to talk about it anymore either, Darlene snapped. Fine, bye. Okay, well, Ben said, grabbing his jacket from the chair. I guess I will hear from you when I hear from you. The very next thing you are going to hear from me is a warm aloha from the beach, Darlene called out as he walked out the door. Later that evening, the family gathered around the dining table. Mary looked up as Jackie walked into the room, looking tired but moving with her usual dramatic flair. We were really worried when you had that terrible bout of illness, Mary said gently. It is so wonderful that you are back here now. I missed you guys too, Jackie said, patting Mary on the shoulder. Yeah, Mark chimed in around a mouthful of mashed potatoes. We were mostly worried that if you passed away, we would never eat a properly seasoned dinner ever again. Mom tried to cook yesterday, and it was a complete disaster. Oh, Mark, Mary whispered, elbowing him in the ribs. Oh my God, Harris shouted, bursting into the room with the evening television guide. Jackie, your long-awaited episode of that famous television quiz show is finally airing tomorrow afternoon. Can you please just tell us what happened right now? Did you win the grand prize? Nope, Jackie said instantly, lifting her chin with immense pride. It is absolutely not fair to the rest of the American viewing public. The official non-disclosure agreement states that I cannot reveal a single detail until the show actually airs across the nation. Well, Darlene noted, looking down at Jackie's feet. Your left heel is still completely held together with 3 layers of gray duct tape to keep it attached to your shoe. So, based on your current wardrobe budget, I am guessing you did not exactly crush the competition and walk away a millionaire. Well, you do not know that for sure, Jackie said defensively, sliding her foot back. Why do you think lottery winners always keep it a secret when they win? They are not worried about criminals. They are mostly worried about their own family members showing up with empty pockets. I am just protecting myself from the menace within this room. Dan raised his water glass. To the menace within, he said with a chuckle. Before anyone could reply, the screen door rattled, and Becky walked into the kitchen. She looked clean, calm, and held a small potted fern in her arms. Hey, Darlene said, surprise warming her tone. You got out of the rehabilitation center early. I thought the paperwork was not supposed to be done until tomorrow morning. Yeah, but I really wanted to sleep in my own bed tonight, Becky explained, setting the plant down on the counter. I wanted to wake up early tomorrow so I could cuddle up with little Beverly Rose in the morning without a nurse checking my stats. You should have told us you were getting out early, honey, Dan said, rising to give her a hug. I was completely planning to wait outside the walls of the joint in a cheap suit with $50 in my hand, just like the old movies. Actually, there was not much of a grand goodbye, Becky said with a soft laugh. But they did give me this small plant to see if I could keep it alive for more than a month, which is not very reassuring when you already have a full human child sleeping in the next room. Well, should I schedule you for a double shift at the restaurant tomorrow afternoon? Darlene asked with a smirk. Nope, no more double shifts for me, Becky said firmly. And school is officially on the back burner for the rest of the semester. I need to simplify my life. Oh wow, Darlene said, her tone dropping into cynicism. So it turns out all your professional motivation and academic drive was just hiding in the booze, huh? You are completely missing the point, my tiny terror, Becky said, using the old nickname without any real anger. I am prioritizing my life now. I am spending more time with Beverly Rose, working normal hours, living a healthy life, and helping everyone around me do the exact same thing whether they like it or not. Oh, I get it, Darlene said, rolling her eyes. Life before dreams. That is a beautiful motto. See, that right there is exactly what I mean, Becky said, turning to Dan. You always have to go negative, Darlene. You say the word dreams like I am giving something up, instead of saying good for you like Dad always says when someone makes a positive change. I am being positive, Darlene shouted from the kitchen. In rehab, we have a specific name for people like you. Darlene, Becky called back. We call you a filterer, because you filter out all the joy until only the misery remains. And I am supposed to avoid you. Oh, hey, Dan interrupted, holding up a hand. Your rehab was good for me too, Becky. It sounds like your head is finally on straight. Really, Dad? Becky asked, her eyes narrowing as she noticed the aluminum can sitting next to his armchair. Another beer? Right in front of me on my very first hour back? What is inside that can, Dad? Is it the foamy head of deep regret? Is it the cool, clean taste of paths not taken in life, complete with little bubbles of guilt? Dan looked at the can, then up at her severe expression. Based on the local river it is brewed from, he said dryly, I'm going to say it is mostly just beer pee and a few stray slugs. But I am not trying to solve the mysteries of the universe, Becky. I'm just trying to get a mild buzz after a long workday. That is the classic laugh of an enabler, Becky declared, pointing a finger at him. Oh, wait a minute, Mark interrupted from the table, looking up from his homework. Was not that one of Batman's famous villains? The enabler? He was not violent at all, but he would just support people's bad habits until it eventually killed them over a long period of time. Dan turned to look at his grandson with total exasperation. No, Mark, that was not a comic book villain. There is no villain named the enabler who hands out beverages in a residential garage. Damn, Darlene said, walking back into the room. You probably should not drink that in front of Becky, Dad. She just got back and needs a clean environment. She just got here, Dan said, his voice rising in defensive frustration. I cannot ask her to leave her own family home just because I want to enjoy a cold drink in my own chair. So, here is the solution. Louise and I will take our food and our drinks out into the garage, and we will sit on the workbench. I will join the rest of you when I am completely done. You know, Becky called out as Dan picked up his plate. It only takes a few dedicated people to start an official Alcoholics Anonymous meeting right here in the neighborhood. We could set up chairs. You might have to push a little hard on the big garage door when you go out there, Dad, Harris added with a grin. Sometimes the track sticks when it is double bolted and locked from the inside to keep the neighbors from seeing what you are doing. Well, good for you, Dan said, walking out toward the back door with Louise following closely behind him. Enjoy your clear thoughts, girls. The next afternoon, Mark sat at the kitchen table with his notebook open, looking at Becky who was sitting across from him. Aunt Becky, I am currently preparing a major presentation on addiction and health sciences for my class next week, Mark said. And I am planning to add a section about family influence. Why don't you just come into the classroom as a guest speaker? Part of my rehab program is being of service to others, and I would love to share my journey. Well, Mark said, rubbing the back of his neck, I do not know if that is what the teacher wants. I was originally just going to draw a big graph with a colorful beer bottle to show how a person's life quality goes down along with the physical level of the beer inside the bottle. So I do not know. That poster plan is probably a solid B-, maybe a C+. Becky stared at him in disbelief. A poster board? Mark, you have a real life, recovering alcoholic living right here in your home, and you want to use markers on cardboard? What does the word alcoholism start with? It starts with the letter A, which is exactly the grade you're going to get if you let me give that speech. Before Mark could answer, Harris walked into the kitchen, holding her car keys. Hey, Harris said, leaning against the counter. My sister is coming back to work tomorrow after her month away, and according to the Family News Network, she is high on life. It is going to make everyone in that building want to take up heavy drinking just to survive the shift. Not me, Harris continued, rolling her eyes. I do not need alcohol to feel good about the world. If I ever want to expand my consciousness, there are plenty of natural options out there. There are mushrooms in the woods, there is peyote, and I hear there are frogs you can lick. Please do not lick any frogs, Harris, Becky said with a shudder. Anyway, Darlene said, walking into the room. I do not know what your plans are for this weekend, Harris, but how would you like to go to Hawaii with me? Harris stopped messing with her keys, her jaw dropping. Are you serious? She asked. Hell yeah, Darlene said, a genuine smile breaking through. I have the tickets in the room. So, Harris said, her eyes narrowing. What you are telling me is that you could not change your boyfriend's mind, huh? Ben still refuses to go? No, Darlene admitted. I did not actually ask him a second time. I just decided to bypass the discussion entirely. Harris said, an approving grin spreading across her face. You know what? Good for you, Mom. You do not need a man to tell you when it is okay to go have fun. That is real progress. That is actually terrible relationship advice for almost any situation, Becky noted from the table. Thank you for the commentary, Becky, Darlene said. You are going to absolutely love Hawaii, Harris. It is amazing. I know so many cool things to do. There is this one place where you can actually zip line directly over an active volcano crater. Oh great, Harris said. You go ahead and do that volcano line. I will be perfectly content swimming in a crystal clear lagoon near the hotel, far away from any flying lava. If the volcano does not roast you like a pig on a spit, we can meet up for lunch around 1 o'clock. Before Darlene could answer, her mobile phone began to buzz loudly on the counter. She picked it up, her face dropping instantly as she read the text. Oh, crap, Darlene muttered. Crap. What is it? Harris asked, leaning over. That is not your boyfriend calling, is it? Because I already booked us a reservation for a shark dive. No, Darlene said, her voice tight. It is his mother, Barb. She wants to have dinner tonight. I would rather do the shark dive wearing a dress made entirely out of bloody seals than sit through a dinner with Barb, Harris said with a shudder. Don't book that dinner, Mom. I am kidding about the seal dress, you know, Harris added quickly as Becky shot her another look. But seriously, avoid that woman. An hour later, Becky stood at the front of the community center classroom, facing a small group of teenagers. Mark sat in the front row, looking slightly embarrassed. Your brain is actually not fully developed until you turn 25, Becky said, pointing a piece of chalk at the students. And drinking alcohol can seriously interfere with that development. Throw in the fact that you are all on social media for 11 hours a day, and you are going to end up as a generation of complete morons. So get it together, kids. She glanced at the clock. We still have a half hour left, she noted. Anybody have any questions? A boy in the back raised his hand. So it is totally okay to drink as much as you want after you turn 25? Becky sighed. No, it is a very slippery slope, young man. First you take a drink, then your drink takes a drink, then your drink orders 10 tequila shots for the room, and you end up having unprotected sex in a commercial freezer with a total stranger. That is my personal story. Mark froze in his seat, his eyes wide with horror. What a remarkably vivid answer, the teacher said, stepping forward with a nervous smile. Thanks for coming by, Becky. Mark, why don't you help your aunt out to her car now? Come on, Aunt Becky, Mark said quickly, pulling her toward the door. Let us get you out to the parking lot. We are cutting into the time for our chapter on domestic abuse anyway, the teacher announced to the class. Oh, a lot of domestic abuse is alcohol-related, Becky called out as she walked out. One of the women in my group set her husband on fire. It is okay, though. He lived. Meanwhile, back at the house, the television screen was bright with the game show Jeopardy! Dan and Darlene watched as Jackie stood behind her podium. Do you have the board ready, Jackie? The host asked. History for $2,000. She led the French against the English in the 100 Years' War. Jackie slammed her buzzer. Who is Edith Piaf? She shouted with triumph. The buzzer groaned. No, the host said. Mariana? Brock? Anyone? We were looking for Joan of Arc. Back in the living room, Jackie stood up from the sofa. Well, there are two correct answers then, she argued to the television. Edith Piaf sang La Vie en Rose, and everyone knows about the War of the Roses. I'm sure the judges would accept either. No, Darlene said. Edith Piaf is a French singer from the 20th century, and those are two entirely different wars. You are completely wrong. I know the history of war, Darlene, Jackie insisted, her voice growing shrill. That is the end of Double Jeopardy, the host announced on screen. And Jackie, I am sorry, but you are in the negative numbers, so you will not be playing Final Jeopardy. Great news for Mary and in Brock, you will be. Tonight our category is famous cats. Darlene muted the television. Well, you were on the show, Jackie. They cannot take that away from you. No, sir, they cannot, Dan agreed. The important thing is you had fun. You had fun, right? Fun. Darlene scoffed. What are you talking about, Dad? She just exploded all over national television. I think I saw little bits of her dignity on the camera lens. Yup, Harris agreed. Well, hold on, because you do not know the whole story, Jackie said, her eyes flashing. The phone rang, and Darlene answered it. Oh, hi, Mom, she said. Why did you think you had to go on a show where you have to know things, Jackie? A sharp voice bellowed from the receiver. Why couldn't you just go on a show where you have to be naked and afraid? What's the name of that show? Naked and Afraid, Mom, Darlene said into the phone. That's the one, the voice continued. You think by now you'd know you can't do anything you set your mind to. You're a small person, live a small life. That way no one else knows when you're failing. It's like passing gas in the bathtub. You should be taking showers, Mom, Darlene chimed in dryly. It's easier to slip that way. Just for your information, Mother, Jackie said, grabbing the phone. I was about to tell everybody here that right when they went to commercial, they realized my buzzer was broken. So they're bringing me back to be on a future show to make up for their mistake. Hey, it's your decision, dear, the voice replied. All I'm saying is if at first you don't succeed, get the message. You're a failure. All right then, I love you, bye. The line went dead. An hour later, Darlene sat in a corner booth at the local diner. Barb Linsky slid into the opposite side of the booth, looking severe. I am Ben's mother, Barb, she announced. You must be Dan Connor's girlfriend. Yes, I am, Darlene said. You're riding that rock and roll horse till it drops, aren't you? Barb said, her voice smooth but condescending. Aren't you a sassy old lady? Darlene replied. Thank you, I think, Barb said. I think it's a crime that people aren't more honest with each other. And I think it's a crime we're not allowed to hit our customers. But here we are, Darlene shot back. Oh, Barb, a voice called. Louise walked up with 2 menus. I see you danced with the cobra, Louise whispered to Darlene. Just give us a minute to look at the menu, Barb told her. I'll give you till tomorrow, Louise replied cheerfully. That's my day off. Must be a burden being liked by everyone, Barb remarked to Darlene. Look, Barb, Darlene began. It was not my intention to create problems between you and Ben. What I was trying to do was create problems between you and your father. Oh, well, the important thing is you were trying to create problems, Barb said, a small smile appearing. You know what? This is going to go a lot better if I have something to drink. Since Louise is wisely never coming back, can I get you something? Yeah, Darlene said. Margarita, frozen, no salt, slice of lime, brandy floater. You'll get what you get, Barb said, reaching across the table to grab Darlene's phone. What the hell are you doing? Darlene snapped. Don't be rude. I'm just trying to read your texts, Barb said. It's from someone named Jeff, who's talking about the two of you going to Hawaii. I thought you sold those tickets. That's what Ben said. Well, I didn't, Darlene admitted. And yes, I'm going to Hawaii with Jeff Lynn. Am I supposed to believe that's a girl's name? Barb asked. Nobody does. That's why she goes by Jeff, Darlene said. So you're going to Hawaii with another guy? Barb pressed. All right, look, it's completely platonic and I begged Ben to go with me. Is that supposed to excuse it? Barb asked coldly. Well, 4 days in Hawaii is not going to hurt anybody, Darlene argued. Then why are you sneaking? Because Ben wants me to sell the tickets to pay for bills, Darlene explained. He doesn't get it. I'm trying to live in the moment. And now you're going to tell Ben, and it's all going to get blown out of proportion. No, Barb said slowly. I'm not going to tell Ben, because I'm hoping that you will do the right thing. You're looking at someone who made a mistake under the guise of living in the moment. It wrecked my relationship with my husband and with my son, and it ruined my life. Is that what you want? Look, my friend died, Darlene said, her voice dropping. And it made me realize that we have like 15 minutes on this planet. At the end, she was just trying to live her life to the fullest. And that's all I'm trying to do. Yeah, well, Ben is spending his 15 minutes living in the hardware store to try to make this work. Barb fired back. How do you define living life to the fullest, Darlene? For days in Hawaii, or sacrificing something like he is to be with someone who's going to love you for the rest of your life? Darlene sat in silence. Well, if I say Hawaii now, it's going to look bad, she muttered. Any pennies for your thoughts? Barb asked. Back at the house, Jackie walked into the living room, looking pale. Neville looked up from the sofa. I lied, Neville, Jackie confessed. Jeopardy isn't actually bringing you back. Here's what happened after the commercial break. The stage manager had called out, and we are clear. Jackie had immediately jumped down and marched over to the host. Aaron, I have to talk to you, she had pleaded. I'm sorry, but I really should be advancing too. I had every right answer. Yeah, but you said it after you heard one of the other contestants say it first, the host had replied. I think that there's something wrong with the buzzer, Jackie had insisted. Could it be possible that maybe you were just pressing a little bit late? Well then how do you explain this? Jackie had inquired, slamming the button. Oh yeah sure, the host had said. Now that it's not costing you a dime, it works great. Look, the rules are the rules and I'm sorry, but you're not going to advance to Final Jeopardy. Jackie had leaned closer. I've been feeling this all game, Aaron. I understand you have to be hard on me, because you're feeling guilty about the obvious chemistry here between us. Between who and who? The host had asked. In the meantime, why don't you throw a couple $1,000 into my account cause of the faulty buzzer, and then we can play ourselves some Final Jeopardy? Come on man, please. My mother is going to be watching this, and I really don't want to disappoint her again. How about instead I just walk you to your car, and we'll make a little video for your mother? The host had suggested. Yeah, that would be so helpful, Jackie had said. Okay, she's not really a sports person, so if you could just say you're John Hamm, sure you got it. Look, just meet me outside, and I'll be right there after Final Jeopardy. Thank you, John, Jackie had said. Jackie looked at Neville with tears. He was full of crap, Neville. They had me in handcuffs the second I hit the parking lot. I should have told everybody the truth, but I was so ashamed. And now I'm just going to have to fess up and be the failure my mother always told me that I would be. Not this time, Neville said firmly. I know just what to do. Text your mother this exact sentence. Trust me, okay? To my lifelong adversary. I am going to turn this failure into a success so big that you will choke on it, and finally be dead. No, we're taking the high ground, Jackie said. Send it anyway, Neville said, pressing the button. Oh wow, this is amazing, Jackie said a moment later as the phone chimes. So what's the plan? I have no idea what we are doing. What? Neville asked. I sent it already. What do we do now? I don't know, Jackie admitted. I came up with the text plan. Now you do something. But you don't even have an idea? We'll come up with something, Neville said. Imagine how embarrassed you'll be if we don't. Later that evening, the family was gathered in the living room. Okay, she's here, Harris announced as Darlene walked in. Hey, what's going on? Becky asked, walking out from the hallway. Everybody here wants the best for you, Becky, Darlene said, her voice serious. But you're hurting the people that you love. This is an intervention. What? Becky shouted. I'm not drinking, that's the problem. So you want me to start drinking? No, of course not, Dan said quickly. We're all very proud of what you've accomplished. We just want you to shut up about it. Jackie let out a loud laugh. Oh, I get it, Becky said, a smug smile spreading. They warned me in rehab that you guys wouldn't be as healthy as I am, and there'd be pushback. So I'm just going to have to be really patient with all of you. And then you can come to me when your lives fall apart. That's all we're asking for, Darlene said. Oh, Darlene muttered as Ben walked into the house. You know what? Could you all stay here for a second? I'd like to say something, and I'd like y'all to hear it. Ben stopped, looking confused. I need to confess something to you. Ben, Darlene said, facing him. I didn't sell the Hawaii tickets when I told you that I did. And I feel terrible. But Molly died, and I was thinking about my mortality, and that can make you do really stupid things. But I've sold the tickets now, and I'm putting the money towards my dad's mortgage. And I cannot wait to move in together. And I love you. Well, thank you for those very private thoughts in front of your entire family, Ben said, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Happy to hear that you can't wait to move in with me for the 4th or 5th time. And thank you once again for saying that you won't lie to me right after you do. It's been a long journey back to where I thought we were, but by God, we're there. Okay, Darlene said. I deserve that. But I have one more thing to show you how much I care. Please, everybody step into the kitchen. The family moved into the kitchen. Sitting at the table, shuffling cards, was Barb Linsky. It's poker night with the newest member of our family, Barbara Linsky, Darlene announced. Dan let out a loud laugh. What do you say, Dan? Barb asked. Let bygones be bygones. Sure, Dan said, sitting down. Nice watch, Barb. Thanks, Dan. It's a woman's watch. Won't be when it's on my wrist, Dan joked. Barb tossed a chip. I bet 25. Tell you on Jeopardy. Jackie, hope you don't fold here the way you folded there. Don't lie, Jackie, Darlene called out. She's just baiting you. She didn't scare me, Jackie declared, shoving her chips forward. All in. Oh, Barb said, turning over her cards. 3 queens. Sweet. Yeah, Jackie said, throwing her cards down. The full Edith Piaf. Wrong answer again, Dan noted, leaning over. 3 aces. You lose. Hey, Becky, Harris whispered, nudging her sister. Barb's on her 3rd glass of wine. Get her. The kitchen filled with the warmth of shared laughter, the steady clinking of plastic chips, and the bright, comforting noise of a family that was completely imperfect, entirely loud, but ultimately united under one roof. Gizmo gave a soft, rhythmic thump of his tail against the linoleum floor, his white and brown fur warm under the kitchen lights as the community of voices continued late into the night.